I am Dr. Henri Colt, and this presentation is part of Bronchoscopy Academy, an ongoing competency-based curriculum in flexible bronchoscopy. The goal of this work is to improve procedural understanding, anatomical recognition, and clinical judgment while helping reduce patient suffering associated with unequal expertise and inconsistent training. In this lecture, we will review normal upper airway and laryngeal anatomy. Before we can recognize abnormalities, we must understand normal structures. In bronchoscopy, anatomical orientation is not purely academic. It is the foundation upon which airway safety, diagnostic accuracy, and procedural confidence depend. The upper airway and larynx represent a remarkably compact region where respiration, swallowing, speech, airway protection, and procedural access all converge within only a few centimeters of anatomy. For the bronchoscopist, learning this anatomy is not about memorization. It is about developing spatial understanding, the ability to know where one is going, and what structures matter along the way. The upper airway begins either at the nostrils or at the lips and extends through a series of interconnected anatomical passages toward the hypopharynx and larynx. As the bronchoscope advances, one moves through regions designed not only for breathing, but also for humidification, filtration, swallowing, resonance, and speech. This entire region is dynamic rather than static. Airflow changes with breathing. Tissue positions change with swallowing and phonation. Even patient anxiety can alter muscular tone and airway configuration. The bronchoscopist, therefore, learns anatomy not from diagrams alone, but from living movement. This image provides one of the most useful orientation principles in bronchoscopy. The uvula points toward the epiglottis, and the epiglottis leads into the larynx. Simple spatial guidance such as this becomes extremely important during real procedures, particularly in patients with difficult airways, redundant tissue, obesity, bleeding, excessive secretions, or distorted anatomy. The bronchoscopist gradually develops an internal three-dimensional map of the airway, and this map reduces uncertainty and improves procedural safety. The larynx itself is a relatively small structure, measuring only several centimeters in length, yet its physiological importance is enormous. Its upper boundary begins near the epiglottis, and its lower boundary extends to the cricoid cartilage. Within this compact anatomical region lie the mechanisms responsible for airway protection, voice generation, coordinated airflow, and protection against aspiration. One of the remarkable aspects of bronchoscopy is how quickly anatomy transforms from abstraction into a recognizable landscape. Over time, the larynx ceases to appear visually confusing. It becomes organized, familiar, and interpretable. It's sad that so many bronchoscopists neglect a careful examination of hypopharyngeal, pharyngeal, and laryngeal structures. These next slides review the major landmarks of laryngeal anatomy as seen during bronchoscopy. We identify the vallecula, the epiglottis, the piriform sinuses, the aryepiglottic folds, the true and false vocal cords, the ventricles, the arytenoid cartilages, and the cricoid ring. Initially, trainees might experience these structures as visually overwhelming. Everything appears pink, curved, mobile, and difficult to orient. But expertise develops through repeated observation. The bronchoscopist learns to recognize subtle distinctions in contour, color, symmetry, depth, and motion. The vallecula becomes recognizable as a space rather than a shadow. The vocal cords are dynamic structures rather than static tissue folds. The ventricles and commissures acquire anatomical meaning. Importantly, anatomical recognition is not merely educational. It has direct clinical implications. Knowing exactly where one is within the airway helps prevent procedural delays, failed intubations, unintended trauma, or missed pathology. surface anatomy itself is a form of procedural navigation. This teaching slide emphasizes an important educational principle. Anatomical learning requires active observation rather than passive viewing. Each element of the airway must be studied deliberately. I always believe that the airway must prove itself to be normal. I enter the airway with my bronchoscope, thinking there's an abnormality to be found. With experience, pattern recognition accelerates. Structures that once required conscious identification become immediately recognizable. This transition from uncertainty to familiarity is one of the major developmental milestones in bronchoscopy training. We now move deeper into the structural anatomy of the larynx. The larger cartilages, including the epiglottis, thyroid cartilage, and cricoid cartilage, provide a framework and rigidity for the airway. The smaller paired cartilages, including the arytenoids, corniculates, and cuneiforms, participate in fine mechanics of vocal cord movement and laryngeal function. The vocal ligaments themselves attach posteriorly to the arytenoid complex, while the epiglottis remains tethered to the tongue through glossoepiglottic folds. Although this anatomy may initially appear highly specialized, it reflects a deeper physiological reality. The larynx must simultaneously remain stable enough to protect the airway, yet flexible enough to allow speech, breathing, swallowing, coughing, and rapid reflex closure. For anatomical structures to perform so many competing functions with such a confined space, it isn't easy. The larynx also exists in close proximity to several major neurovascular structures. Nearby lie the carotid arteries, jugular veins, vagus nerve, thyroid vasculature, and the recurrent and superior laryngeal nerves. This relationship explains why disease processes, surgical procedures, tumors, or trauma in the neck may profoundly affect voice, swallowing, or airway function. It also reminds us that bronchoscopy never occurs in anatomical isolation. The airway is connected to a much larger physiological environment. These slides review topical anesthesia of the upper airway and larynx. Effective bronchoscopy depends not only upon technical skill, but also on patient comfort and the suppression of protective reflexes. Topical anesthetic reduces gagging, coughing, and laryngeal sensitivity by affecting branches of the superior laryngeal nerve and related sensory pathways. The spray-as-you-go technique represents more than simple anesthetic delivery. It reflects an important philosophy of procedural bronchoscopy: gradual progression, careful preparation, and respect for patient physiology. Experienced bronchoscopists learn that smooth procedures are usually quiet procedures. Calmness, patience, and anticipation matter. We now turn toward laryngeal function. The glottis remains open during inspiration and closes during swallowing in order to protect the airway. Similarly, the vocal cords abduct during breathing and adduct during phonation. These coordinated movements occur continuously and automatically throughout life. Bronchoscopy offers a rare opportunity to observe physiology directly in motion. We can appreciate that the airway is not a hollow tube. It is more. It is an active neuromuscular system constantly balancing respiration, speech, and protection against aspiration. The opening and closing of the cords during phonation may appear simple, yet it represents extraordinarily refined neuromuscular coordination. This educational question reinforces an important concept. Airway protection does not depend upon a single structure alone. The epiglottis, false cords, true cords, surrounding musculature, sensory innervation, and coordinated reflexes all participate together in defending against aspiration. In medicine, important physiological functions are often redundant by design. Protection of the airway is too important to depend upon only one mechanism. Bronchoscopy Academy is part of an ongoing competency-based approach to bronchoscopy education. Our goal is to reduce patient suffering caused by unequal procedural expertise, inconsistent training, and preventable error. Additional educational resources, reflective essays, and narrated lectures are available at bronchoscopy.org and henri.substack.com.